236 enemy drones entered Ukrainian airspace as of this morning. Most of them were of the Shahed type. 203 were shot down, but 36 Russian drones hit 18 locations. Then in 8 more locations, drone debris was recorded falling. The occupiers struck a taxi in the center of Kherson with a drone. 2 people were killed, 2 were injured. Another person was wounded by the occupiers in the afternoon. In Komishani, residential buildings and power lines were damaged. The day before, Russian troops struck 35 settlements in the region. 4 people were injured. A 16-year-old boy was killed by Russia at night in Chernihiv. 4 more people were wounded. The occupiers launched a massive drone attack on the city. There were hits in various locations, causing extensive destruction. A lyceum and private houses were damaged. An enterprise was also hit. A woman was injured in the Dnipropetrovsk region. As a result of the shelling in the Nikopol district, a fire broke out. A private house, a social facility, and infrastructure were damaged. In the Sinelnikov district, the Palace of Culture, an apartment building, and 2 private houses were destroyed. And in Kamyanska, an enterprise was damaged. The occupiers struck Kharkiv with a missile. A fire broke out, and windows in apartment buildings were shattered. Due to a drone strike, the Barabashovo market also caught fire. Near Borova, the Russians killed a man on a scooter with a drone. In the Bohodukiv district, 1 man was injured and 3 people suffered acute stress reactions. In Veliki Borlok, a woman was wounded. In the Velikopisarevska community of Sumy region, a man was killed as a result of enemy shelling. A fire broke out in the administrative building and nearby houses were damaged. 2 women and a man were injured in the Verkhnyo-Sirovatka community, and 2 more men were wounded in the Sumy community. Russian drones struck a municipal facility. The occupiers also attacked Shostka and Seredina Buda. There are 2 injured and destruction there. In Mykolaiivka, Donetsk region, the enemy struck a private home. 2 residents were wounded. The occupiers attacked Kramatorsk with a drone. There is 1 injured person. Residential buildings and cars were damaged. There is also an injured person in Ryo-Alexandrivka. In Zaporizhzhia, Russian strikes damaged private houses, and the day before, a 20-year-old man was wounded in the city. The occupiers carried out an airstrike on Balabino. 3 elderly people were injured there. Private houses, cars, and garages were damaged. It was loud last night in the Russian city of Taganrog. A strike hit a defense industry enterprise called Atlant Aero there, causing a large-scale fire. It is known that the plant produces Molnia strike reconnaissance drones, which the Russians mainly use to attack residential buildings in cities and settlements near the Russian border. They also manufacture components for Orion UAVs there. These drones weigh approximately 1 ton and are capable of carrying up to 250 kilograms of payload, which can include, in particular, aerial photography systems or guided KAB-20 aerial bombs or an X-50 missile. The General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, which confirmed the strike by defense forces on Taganrog, notes that this successful attack will reduce the enemy's ability to produce drones and weaken its capacity to strike civilian targets in Ukraine. Also, last night, the Armed Forces of Ukraine struck several enemy ammunition depots and other logistical facilities in various locations on Russian-occupied territory. Hungarians of Zakarpatia after Orban. What is the attitude of the Hungarian minority in Ukraine toward the elections in Hungary? How has life in the community changed against the backdrop of the war and the escalation of relations between Kyiv and Budapest? And why is this region such an important factor in Hungarian politics? TSN correspondent Natalia Yarmola reports from the Hungarian border next.
Berehov is the capital of the Hungarians of Zakarpatia. It's less than 10 kilometers to the Hungarian border from here. Most of the population here speaks 2 languages and holds 2 passports, Ukrainian and Hungarian. But during the full-scale invasion, life here feels as if it's caught between 2 fires. It was here that people followed the Hungarian parliamentary elections especially closely, because Orban has always paid great attention to the local community, opening schools and kindergartens, handing out money and Hungarian passports, even when Ukrainian law prohibited it. In return, he gained a loyal electorate and leverage over Ukraine.
Well, they support him.
He does things for them.
He won the last election thanks to those Hungarians here who, as they say, have dual citizenship.
But the war and the escalation of Ukrainian-Hungarian relations changed everything. If in the 2022 elections almost everyone here supported Orban, now his approval rating has faltered.
Why vote for a crook? I don't quite understand the world of politics, but I honestly think Orban is a very strong leader.
Do people support Orban?
No.
Because everyone
They all steal.
On the streets of the villages in the Berehov community, 90% of people speak only Hungarian. So Orban's anti-Ukrainian propaganda, spread through the media he controls, easily seeps into conversations among the people.
Prime Minister Viktor Orban recently stated that if he isn't elected, the region will face an inevitable war. Hungarians believe that if he isn't elected, there will be bombings here.
But what worries the residents most now is the population decline in villages along the Hungarian border. Many Hungarians are defending Ukraine, and even more have gone abroad. After the start of the full-scale invasion, Hungarian villages became noticeably emptier. Most people went to live in Hungary. Thus, the population of this region, which once had 150,000 ethnic Hungarians, has decreased to about 60 or 70,000.
my street where I live,
Here is my street where I live. It's like zombies there. You look and you don't see anyone.
and you don't see anyone.
They hate their own Hungarians. If they go there to live, they simply despise them.
When do people leave here for Hungary?
Yes. They call them Ukrainians.
Refugees from other Ukrainian cities did not come to replace those who left. Ethnic Hungarian villages are difficult for integration. It's much harder to find a Ukrainian school or kindergarten here. Most of them are Hungarian. In the city of Berehov, the ratio is as follows: 3 Ukrainian schools, 3 Hungarian schools, and 2 mixed ones. The director of the Ukrainian gymnasium, Volodymyr Kines, explains Hungarian students, teachers, and schools receive additional funding from Hungarian organizations, so they are chosen more often.
When it comes to the essential purchase of required textbooks or various other educational materials, families can expect to receive, let's say, approximately 3,000 to 4,000 hryvnias per year to help cover these costs. To some extent, teachers who work in Hungarian schools are also incentivized. Perhaps we should have incentivized our communities in Romania and in Hungary in the same way.
In 2017, Ukraine adopted the law on education, which stipulated that, starting from the 5th grade, students would gradually transition to studying in Ukrainian. Viktor Orban politicized this issue, and despite the fact that Ukraine later made concessions and eased the requirements of the law specifically for Hungarians, he continued to claim that the rights of the national minority were being infringed. In particular, he used this as an explanation for his reluctance to support Ukraine's accession to the EU.
This is exactly the paradox when ethnic Hungarians in Ukraine have found themselves hostages of the situation. That is, they are citizens of Ukraine and they want to become part of the European Union. We see this lack of understanding on the part of the Hungarian authorities, whose actions are actually blocking their access to the European Union.
The head of the Hungarian community in the Kyiv region, Tibor Tompa, is originally from Berehov. He moved to Kyiv right after finishing school, and it was only from a distance that he was able to appreciate the advantages of being bilingual. He says that the issue of language oppression has been artificially stirred up by Orban.
If you are a Hungarian citizen and you also speak the Ukrainian language, you actually have far more professional opportunities than most local Ukrainians do. I still feel this even to this day. Unfortunately, Orban has directed them in such a way that they only speak Hungarian, so that they remain like serfs from the 19th century, and so that he can exploit them for his own purposes.
Arguments about oppression are easily refuted by the number of Hungarian cultural centers and educational institutions just in the Berehov community. And the vast majority of people we've spoken to here are Hungarians, but still they're ours.
We are Hungarians. We are Ukrainians.
Orban is not in charge here.
Not Orban. Zelensky.
Here we have Zelensky.
We have lived together quite peacefully with Ukraine.
Now, on the border with Hungary, everyone is waiting to see what the policy of Hungary's new prime minister will be. Péter Magyar, whose party, TISA, defeated Orban's Fidesz, has not yet publicly expressed his position regarding the Hungarians of Zakarpatia. But as for Ukraine, he has already stated he will unblock the €90 billion loan, but he plans to put Ukraine's accession to the EU to a referendum. Natalia Yarmola, Alexander Alifanov, TSN 1+1.
So will Budapest actually take a pro-Ukrainian course? What do you think about this? I'm looking forward to all your thoughts in the comments under this episode, and also to your likes and subscription to our channel. I will continue with the TSN broadcast. fuel tankers have started turning away from the Strait of Hormuz. According to Bloomberg, 5 vessels carrying liquefied natural gas have changed their course. This happened after Iran once again announced the closure of this critically important maritime route. Tehran relayed this message to the captains of the vessels. After that, one of the tankers even reported being fired upon. On Friday, the world felt a sense of relief. At that time, Iran announced the end of the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz and the resumption of commercial shipping. But it lasted less than a day. The US president refused to unblock Iranian ports in the Persian Gulf until a peace agreement with Iran is finalized. As a result, Tehran itself closed the Strait of Hormuz again. And to confirm the seriousness of their intentions, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps fired on 2 fuel tankers. In just 2 days, the ceasefire between America and Iran will expire. However, the parties are still far from reaching an agreement, despite Trump's statements that everything is going very well. Apart from the Strait of Hormuz, the main stumbling block remains the export of Iranian highly enriched uranium, as well as the enrichment program itself, which is still ongoing.